Alright everybody, so this is session 2 of my Pillars of Eternity Lorethrough. I am recording this on December 10th, 2022. Last session we just did the intro. Our caravan was attacked by Glenfathan natives. We fought back. Most of the caravan died, and after we killed the locals, the natives, a Beowix happened, which is a spirit wind that can trap souls. And we escaped into a nearby Ingwithan ruin, and that's where we are now at the very beginning of this Ingwithan ruin. So let's get to it. Our characters right now, we have Bjartor, my player character, a pale elf from The White That Wends. Then we have Kalisha and Hyoden, who were both people from the caravan.
Absolutely.
A lower level of ruins has been blocked off by the fallen rubble.
That should be far enough. But what now?
We look for another way out. Storm has to die sometime.
What happened out there? This is Kalisha. Kalisha shakes her head. Windstorm, of a kind they only get in Air Glanfath. Not too many people live through them, so it's hard to know what's true. The Glenfathan word is Beowick. To them, it's the gods' way of reaping the souls of the land that couldn't find their own way out. But they'll take a living soul as soon as a dead one. Still got yours? Who attacked us? Glenfathans. Those would be the hut dwellers Odema warned you about. Look to be the fangs of Galawain, who are the twitchiest of the lot. They go ruin to ruin looking for fights with colonists. Poor Odema. I think he half expected this, once we lost the main road. So I have no idea who these fangs of Galawain are. There is a group from the collector's book, The Hounds of Galawain. It says the Hounds are a quasi-religious order dedicated to the god of the hunt. Aside from their passion for stalking greater beasts, members of the group hire themselves out as guides for wilderness expeditions. History has shown that seeking treasure in Ingwithan ruins without the aid of a hound will likely result in untimely death or disappearance. So the fact that the Hounds of Galawain readily go into Ingwithan ruins makes me think that these fangs are definitely not the Hounds of Galawain. But I could not find any mention in any of the books about the fangs of Galawain. I looked at the different tribes in Twin Elms. I thought it might be them, the Glenfathan tribes in Twin Elms, but I couldn't find anything there. So maybe I'll do a deeper search later, see if I can find something about these guys. But it appears that they are people who, Kalisha calls them the twitchiest of the lot, so they are Glenfathans that obviously take their protection of the Ingwithan ruins extremely seriously, and because we were just close to a ruin, that's why they attacked us. Gonna move on here. I'm going to respond. The Glenfathans said we trespassed in the ruins. Kalisha, I don't believe that. Odema would never allow it. But as much as the fangs are hotheads, Glenfathans don't attack without being provoked. Either they saw something and got the wrong idea, or she glances down the passage beyond. Or there's looters in here with us. That's not something we need right now. I respond, what about everyone else in our caravan? Kalisha's lips press together and her chin rumples. Her voice is faint. The wheels got hold of them now. She looks up. Gods grant them better luck in their next lives. I respond, you don't seem too upset about all this. Kalisha looks you in the eye, a volatile current running beneath her voice. Maybe you just don't know me enough to know what upset looks like. And maybe I've seen worse, too. Seen worse and kept on walking because there's nothing else to be done. And because there's other people you care about who still need you. I respond, let's get going. So, it seems that the group that attacked us might be part of the Fangs of Galawain, and she hints that someone else might be here. So they don't treat the Glenfathans as just like barbarians, as native tribes are often treated in literature. She seems to know a little bit about them and how they won't attack without being provoked, so there is at least that stipulation here. However, that makes her think that there's someone else in these ruins with us.
Wonder who was here. See if they left anything useful behind.
A trembling, sickly creature emerges from the dark, clutching a spear. Knobby elbows and thin ribs show you the scaly flesh, but you recognize it as a Zorp. It watches you cautiously, breathing in ragged sighs. So here's our first actual beast that we fight. We fought the Glanfathan attackers from before, but here are Zorps. Reading from the Collector's Guide, it says, "These hairless humanoids are about the size of Orlins. They have elongated snouts and snake-like eyes, giving them a reptilian appearance. Their legs end in three-toed feet, while their elongated arms end in three-fingered claws. Zorps adorn themselves with the bones of fallen enemies, mostly Zorps from rival tribes. They also have an affinity for large feathers, which they pin to their attire. Skin tones can vary from light to green to a rustic brown. Their elongated snouts, which make speech impossible, and overly aggressive behavior have hindered them from communicating with the more civilized races of the world. They live in secluded tribal territories and are known for ruthlessly attacking those foolish enough to cross their paths. Zorps revere dragons as deities and build their communities around the lairs of the powerful creatures. It is not uncommon for a small tribe to wander until it has found a worm to worship. Once a tribe dedicates itself to a dragon, they will defend it at all costs. Elaborate rituals in which the dragon consumes Zorp sacrifices are normal. As a dragon grows in age and size, these sacrifices become large religious events that cost the lives of hundreds of Zorps. The power and prestige of a Zorp tribe directly correlates with the age of its dragon. The most powerful tribes have existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Warriors and shamans of these large tribes typically paint their bodies to resemble their draconic overlord." So, kind of interesting Zorps there. Obviously, we only have a single one here, but the more powerful they are, the closer they are to a dragon who they worship as gods. So here is our first Zorp. Just going to raise my arms and stand still. The creature cocks its head and approaches you, a soft clicking sound emanating from the back of its throat. The creature sniffs around you and finds nothing of interest. It steps back and resumes its defensive posture. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." The Zorp recoils, fingers still wrapped tightly around its spear. The creature cocks its head and approaches you, a soft clicking sound emanating from the back of its throat. The creature sniffs around you and finds nothing of interest. It steps back and resumes its defensive posture. I don't want to say "I'll tear you to pieces, lizard." That doesn't seem like something my character would say, so I'm going to slowly back away. The Zorp watches warily as you go. I have a feeling it's going to attack us if I step in here. Let's see. Yep. Let's see what this spear says. Spears are not as long as their two-handed kin, pikes, but they are easier to maneuver and can be used with a shield. Even with one-handed grip, spears can strike fierce blows with high accuracy. This crude spear is decorated with feathers and beads, so that is a decoration from the Zorps.
Absolutely.
Wait. Do you hear that?
This is an Ingwithan relief gem. This brilliant blue gem has been sculpted to look like an eye. Journal here? Tattered journal. This small folio is torn in several places, and blood has soaked into several of the sheets. One later entry is still legible, however. I can't believe my luck. A few rounds of dice, and I've got my hands on a genuine Ingwithan artifact. Fellow who had it said it was a pretty nothing, as far as he's concerned. He's not willing to go digging in some ruins. But if he's right about this gem leading to a hidden treasure, then that's worth sneaking past a few painted elves. I'll head to Cilant in the morning. Then it's a matter of time finding this relief he was talking about. So it looks like somebody was in here looking for wherever this relief gem is going to go.
Those tiles look suspicious. Let's be careful.
An addendum added. The ruins of Cilant. I've narrowly escaped the strange and deadly wind that tore through the valley, but now I'm trapped in the ancient ruins that the caravan master told us to stay clear. Yeah, I don't need to read all these, I don't think. So I know that this puzzle ruin depends how you're supposed to, like, step on them. So I want to make sure I find that out first.
Just like the tiles.
This mural must be ancient, yet the colors are still bright and vivid. It shows a procession of Ingwithans from all of the Kith races, Almawa, Elf, Orlan, Dwarf, and Human. They walk among pillars, similar to the ones that span this chamber, each one topped with a flame. So that journal entry called the Ingwithans, or the Glenfathans, painted elves, but apparently... Oh no, these are the Ingwithans, who are all of the Kith races. So we have some oozes. Let's look at the bestiary. So these are lesser black oozes, and here is what the bestiary has to say about black oozes. These creatures appear to have no discernible anatomy. They are nothing more than animated pools of vicious goo. Oozes are mobile, carnivorous molds that develop in dark, dank places that experience little to no regular traffic. Oozes feed off the ambient bacteria, fungi, and small insects as they grow. Once they reach the size of an average dog, they begin to seek out larger prey, including humans. Like all living creatures, they have essence, but their lack of intelligence and a true nervous system makes them aggressive and difficult to deter. Their viscosity and mobility enables them to perform surprisingly nimble attacks, and they are capable of spitting corrosive enzymes to break down flesh and armor. Some of the more dangerous variants are disease vectors, making any confrontation with them especially perilous. And then it goes into a story about a ooze known as Back Alley Midden, which the story of that is actually in the almanac, and it's kind of interesting, so maybe I will read that at one point, but not right now. For now, just going to take on these oozes. I wonder if I can knock them down. This is ooze plasma, a congealed mass of thick and opaque jelly.
At once.
What's that muck on the wall?
Viscous and oily, this muck clings to anything it touches. A viscous slick of something dark and tar-like runs down this wall. The shapes and bulges in the ooze suggest that something lies beneath it, but you can't tell what. Use my water skin to clear off the ooze. You rinse the ooze away, revealing an intricate relief of a man's face. The sunburst surrounding it has chipped away in places, but the details of its head, from the tight curls of hair to the ridges of his pointed ears, still showcase remarkable craftsmanship. One eye socket is empty. A gem fills the other. So this is where we put that Ingwithan relief gem from before. The chamber begins to rumble, stray rocks dancing across the tile floor. Finally, a large section of the wall gives way. You have lost an item, Ingwithan relief room. Check. Looks like there's an ooze in here. Minor cloak of protection. Capes and cloaks can be worn for protection from the elements and from prying eyes alike. Many are woven with spells to provide additional defense or abilities. Then we have an amethyst. Amethyst can be found in a variety of shades, but those of darkest purple are considered to be the most valuable. Discovery of new sources has become commonplace in the past few hundred years, and amethyst no longer fetches the same value it once did. And we have Adra, very important in the world of Pillars of Eternity. An organic material, crystalline in structure but shell-like in substance, Adra can be found growing up through the ground in veins in many parts of Aora. Easy to carve and manipulate, it is the favorite of jewelers and a semi-precious stone, and is often cut more intricately and beautifully than other gems. Interestingly, this doesn't go into how Adra can be used to trap soul energy. Gonna equip this cloak. So that was only to a little treasure room there. Alright, let's see what happens when I start touching these. A lion symbol is inscribed on this pillar. An unlit brazier sits at its base. It could be lit if you had the means. Flames kindle swiftly in the brazier, winding their way upwards. Okay, so they're all lit. And now only some of these are lit up in here, so that's what those torches did. I'm gonna explore a little over here before we actually move forward. Skulders. Skulders are in the Wilders section of the bestiary. It says Skulders dwell in caves in total or near total darkness. As a result, they have poor vision and rely on their sense of hearing to navigate and find prey. Protrusions and hairs on their ears allow them to detect airflow, which is key to pinpointing direction in an underground environment. They communicate through screeches and clicks, and they also use the vocalizations in a sort of echolocation. They are communal and will nest and raise young together. So it seems like they are like walking bats almost. They use echolocation to find their way around, to find things to attack. A skulder ear, the tattered ear of a skulder.
At once.
That looks weak. Could be a shortcut.
A crack runs along this wall from floor to ceiling. A light gust of air passes through it. Push on the wall. Despite the damage, the stone looks heavy and solid. So we do have a hammer and chisel. Let's let Kalisha. Kalisha pushes with all her might and attacks against the spread. Finally, the ancient masonry gives way. The wall crashes down, revealing a circular room ahead. That was a Might 16 check there.
I could scout.
Another starred skull.
I could scout ahead. See what's around the corner.
Ooh. Looks like they hurt us a little bit here.
I'm here.
Ha!
Not looking too good. Almost passed out there. We see here the endurance and health. I mentioned this in the last session. We see our endurance is the thing that replenishes at the end of battle, and the health is something that stays. If I run out of endurance, then I pass out until the end of the battle. If I run out of health, then I die. And we can see the health bar on the left-hand side of the character portrait, and if we mouse over the portrait, we can see the endurance bar that lowers as we fight and take damage. And you might have seen the red faces because I was very low on endurance in that fight. Actually,
I'm here. Certainly.
Do you feel that? There's a draft coming through that wall. I don't hear any sign of that storm either.
Spear spiderlings. From the bestiary, it says spear spiders are moderately larger in size than dwarves, but they are feared for their frightening speed and barbed front legs with which they attack, unlike other giant spiders. While walking, they move deliberately and can give the false impression of being slow. When they run, their legs move extremely rapidly, covering an enormous amount of ground in seconds. They attack by jabbing with their two front legs, which are covered in barbs, and they occasionally bite to deliver venom. Their coloration is vivid, with bright colors against their dark bodies. Their forelegs are more colorful than their other legs, which are dominantly gray, allowing for easy identification once spotted. Spear spider's weakness is its fragility. Due to spear spider's unique method of attack, very brave or very foolish swordsmen and women, particularly members of the Talons, have traditionally fought them for sparring practice. Today, this tradition is held only by the most rustic and rugged warriors in training. The spear spider is also known as one of the boldest arachnid hunters, as it tends to rely less on its webs and more on its barbed legs to capture prey. As a result, this species ventures further from its nest than most other spiders. So unlike other spiders, these guys attack with their legs, not so much trapping things in its webs, and we are about to see the effects of that. So the AI bugged out there and didn't start attacking.
At once.
Okay, so I just went around these symbols here. I'm fine with that. Spiderling. Ooh, big one. Does this hurt everybody? Target becomes the object of a concussive blast of psychic energy, suffering raw damage from the trauma. Characters in a conical area behind the target, failing a fortitude check, are knocked prone from the blast. So they aren't behind, so they should be okay. Let's see. Yeah. And that was a larger spear spider, not a spiderling. Spear spider legs. Spear spiders have long, tapering front limbs ending in a sharp point, which they use to impale their prey. This leg is covered in small, backward-facing barbs.
Absolutely.
Bats as large as chickens are strung in the web. So they do use the web for some hunting. some new precious stones. Not sure how to pronounce that. Agates are common on Eora, oft used by craftsmen for their bright colors. Their considerable hardness also lends them to a variety of more practical applications. Jasper is found in the wild as a dull-mottled stone, frequently in red or green, but often with a variety of colors lent by other surrounding minerals. While relatively easy to find, polished, the stone's distinctive swirls of color give it endless variety. Bloodstone. Bloodstone is traditionally a dark stone, often a deep green, but the presence of the pockets of iron or red jasper resembling blood spatter give the stone its name as well as its value. Alright, going to leave the ruins. Older robed man. 4 figures stand before an otherworldly apparatus, an ancient structure of chiseled audra and metallic veins, ominous and looming like a silent observer. Standing motionless in their midst is what appears to be a human body, colorless as stone or ash. The other figures gaze upon it in what might be contemplation. From your vantage point, you are well obscured from their view. The figure closest to the machine stands out among them. A thick gray beard frames a face otherwise hidden beneath a metallic mask. His faded robes are embroidered with a runic language unlike anything you have ever seen, and he wears a strange black headdress with 2 protrusions that jut out like the wings of some malevolent creature.
Oathbinder, bear witness, and see this man has kept his word true to his last breath, full to his blood's last drop. Guide his soul, queen that was, and regard it among your favored. Let his life by the key be his confession. Let his death by the key be his absolution. May he walk the world ever free of the crushing weight of the book.
Okay, so there is a lot here. There's a lot of lore in this short thing here. We have the queen that was. Favored is capitalized. We have key that's capitalized and book that's capitalized. So let's see if I can find this stuff in the collector's guide. I have a good hint at what key is, and I'm pretty sure I know who the queen that was is. I'm not sure why favored is capitalized. That just might be a title within this group, and I think I might know what book is too. So let's see if we can find this here. So the queen that was is a reference to Woodica. That is one of her aliases. Other aliases are the Exiled Queen, the Burned Queen, Oathbinder, and the Strangler. She is the god of law, justice, oaths, and promises. Rightful rulership. Rightful there is in parentheses. Rightful rulership. Hierarchies, memory, and vengeance. Allies, it says Skane, another god. Though the true nature of their relationship is uncertain, and foes everyone. She believes that all the gods owe her fealty. Her symbols are a broken throne, a leather-bound book of law, partially blackened by fire. So that reference to the crushing weight of the book at the end there, I believe, is a reference to her symbol of a book of law. I'm not going to read the entire entry for Woodica. It's a little bit long. All the gods are, and I think the gods are something that we'll repeatedly come back to as we go through this playthrough. But I do want to read this part here. It says, priestesses of the exiled queen serve as lawyers and judges in towns and urban centers, and the most prominent among them are advisors to kings and lords. They are of particular importance in the Adirian Empire, where by tradition, business contracts always require their endorsement. Her devotees are typically found in the upper classes, but any conservative person who longs for a vanished past will find a place in her faith. when Woodica takes back her throne is a common saying among her followers, signifying a utopian future when society will be properly ordered once again, and she will take her rightful place as the ruler of gods. So the Woodican followers very much here seem to be an equivalent to like the Trump conservative. And I know that this game was made before the Trump presidency, but it's almost uncanny how close this is to the platform he ran on of taking America back again, making America great again, and the Woodican faith, or the Woodican saying of when Woodica takes back her throne. Like, it used to be better when Woodica was in charge, but now it's all chaos. So when Woodica takes up her throne again, everything will be in order. These followers seem very much to be in that kind of flavor. The last thing I want to go over here is the mention of the key, which I believe is a reference to the group Leaden Key, which is a very important faction in this story, but we don't really, our character doesn't really know who they are yet, so I think I'm going to hold off any discussion on that. There's no entry on them in the Collector's Guide, and there is a mention of them in the guidebook, but only in the walkthrough section, so I think it would be beneficial to take a look at that later. Gonna move on with the story now.
Your brother has done his part, and you have seen the power of his contribution. I will accept no further hesitation from the rest of you. In the sight of the queen that was, will you fulfill the oath? Will you take your place beside your brother in the endless esteem of her memory that is without flaw? Step forth, and be assured of the great worth of your life's course.
So we seem to have interrupted here a ritual of religious significance. This person here has sacrificed themselves to be to the queen that was, and it seems we have 3 other followers that this man in the center, the older robed man, is asking to also do the same thing, encouraging them to sacrifice themselves for the queen that was, Woodica. For an instant, the apparatus goes quiet and the air is still. Then, all at once, it erupts with a concussive surge. Light floods your vision and you are knocked to the ground. Your head snaps back as you land, and pain wells in the back of your skull, washing your last thoughts away into the black, unconscious void. You open your eyes to a different place, another time. You stand in a circular room, grand and domed, its walls lined with Adra and trimmed with copper. The style is ancient, but the chamber is unweathered. At the far end, the great pillar of Adra pierces the floor from below, its shimmering texture giving the illusion of boundless depth. Encircling the pillar is an apparatus much like the one you have just seen, but immense and multifaceted and intertwined. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they seem to exist before you think them, and they are all questions, pressing questions, troubling questions, questions that must be answered, or... At the base of the pillar now, you see a man with a thick gray beard and a ceremonial robe, crowned with a strange ornamental headdress. You know this man. You are walking towards him now at a pace that is hurried, while trying not to appear so. You have something you want to ask him, one question above all, and the question spins madly in your mind. This is the same portrait of the character that was speaking in the scene we just watched, that was asking his followers to sacrifice themselves to Woodica. You awaken to find your malaise is broken, only to be replaced with something far more concerning. Faint whispers are audible at the edge of your hearing, like a ringing in your ears that does not subside. Movement flits through your periphery, but when you turn to look, you can see no sign of whatever it was. You find your gaze regularly darting this way and that, an involuntary paranoid tic. If this is a sickness, it may be dangerous to go without treatment for long. The figures at the machine stand frozen in place, flesh and blood replaced by cinders into ash. The man who led them is nowhere to be seen. Hayden, and Kalisha lie bloody on uneven cobbles, their bodies twisted unnaturally in death. You are alone and far from help. Gilded Veil may be your best hope of receiving treatment before things get worse. So what we just experienced was something called awakening. I said last session that souls and the gods are very real in this universe, and the awakening is an example of that. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the Souls and Reincarnation section of the Collector's Book. Easier to find evidence of this is the idea that all beings in Aora are part of an endless cycle of reincarnation. Through various natural or scientific means, the experiences and personalities of an individual's past lives can be coaxed to surface from farther depths of their souls. When a person becomes aware of one or more of his or her past lives, the experience is known as an awakening. The experience can be cathartic, traumatic, or simply confusing, depending on what information surfaces and the manner in which it is brought about. Early symptoms of a soul's awakening can include post-cognitive visions and the intrusion of foreign memories or emotions. In rare instances, the presence of a former personality might compel a person to act in an uncharacteristic fashion or complete some objective left unfulfilled in life. Particularly dominant personalities have been known to wrest control from the most recent owners of their bodies in the aftermath of an awakening, either intermittently or in some cases, permanently. And this next section I actually want to keep reading because it's going to be very important to who we are. There also exist certain unique individuals typically referred to as watchers who either through freak accidents or the proddings of animancy are able to remember the way they perceived the world just before passing beyond the shroud. They can see and detect wayward souls in the world and in some cases commune with them. Watchers possess the mental fortitude to access the soul memory of others, extending sometimes several lives into the past, and often either lend assistance to the crisis of the self or use such crises to their own advantage. They can also unlock latent personalities and interpret the seemingly indecipherable meaning of the visions glimpsed from the beyond. Lost souls, who otherwise navigate the world in blindness, see watchers as beacons of light and hope. Among watchers, it is common for souls to trail in their wake like an ethereal caravan. So, not going to say too much about this now, because I think shortly we'll start figuring out that our character is one of these watchers, but it appears what he just experienced is what is called an awakening. He saw a vision from a past life where he saw the same man who was asking the people here to sacrifice their lives in a past life where we took the role of somebody else. All right, let's move on. Some kind of a vision there. Another vision, someone on some kind of a pyre being sacrificed. These are the people here, all frozen, petrified, and they kind of burst apart when we touch them. We are getting vessel flesh from these. Let's take a look at our stash. We got a few things here. So we're getting a lot of crafting ingredients that we haven't looked at. Vessel flesh. This reeking flesh once held a bound soul. With its energy fading, the flesh is entering rapid decay. This pillar here. This massive structure is formed of stone, adra, and copper, and covered in strange glyphs. The air around it vibrates with an unusual energy. we're here at Cilant Lease. We want to go to Gilded Vale, and we have to go through the Valewood to get there.
Who's tired? Just me?
So our character just said he's tired. Also, we leveled up and we didn't do that yet, so let's do that. Six points here. I think survival is important for someone that comes from the white that wins. Stealth. And because of what we're doing here, gonna do some lore. Still have 3 points. We'll get at least a point in athletics, and we'll up our survival as well. Get a new power. Antipathetic field creates a toxic physical manifestation of mutual antipathy between the cipher and the enemy target. Enemies caught in the path between the two will suffer corrosive damage. Eye Strike. That one sounds good, actually. Just enemies caught in the path between the two will suffer corrosive damage. Interesting. Eye Strike. That was something Hayden was using. Shocks an enemy's visual receptors, dazing and blinding them, as well as blinding nearby targets. We have Soul Shock. Briefly transforms the outer shell of an allied target's soul into energy, releasing an electrical burst around them. Characters standing in the area around the target take shock damage. Assails the target's grasp on reality, frightening and confusing them. So I think I'm going to go with Tenuous Grasp, or maybe Antipathetic Field here. No, I think I'm going to go with Tenuous Grasp. Some of the spells here affect anybody who's caught in their area of effect, and I like to avoid those usually. Talents. Biting Whip. Cypher's Soul Whip bites deeper. Psychic Backlash invokes a retaliatory strike. So these are passive, yeah. Stunning an enemy whenever they target the Cypher's will defense. Oh, so that's kind of like if they attack me, something bad happens to them. Draining Rip. Enhances the draining power of the Cypher's Soul Whip, regenerating focus more quickly. Greater focus. The Cypher has an increased maximum focus. Acolyte's Radiance. Man, there's so much here. I don't want to have to read through all these. Maybe I'll read through some of these and choose to cut something later. But Acolyte's Radiance. Nuanced faith in the gods has allowed this character to unleash a wave of spiritual energy similar to a priest's holy radiance. Sneak Attack allows the character to imitate brutal opportunistic strikes of a rogue's sneak attack, taking advantage of opponents when they're at their most vulnerable. Aspirant's Mark. The character has attuned themselves to the natural world like a druid and is able to focus its power on an enemy with the effects of nature's Mark spell. Gallant's Focus. Character's intense beliefs have manifested as an aura with properties similar to a paladin's Zealous Focus. These modal abilities are things that you can have one active at a time. So if you have several modal abilities, you have to activate one, and if you activate another one, then the first one you had isn't activated anymore. Novice's Suffering. The character has learned a portion of the intense pain tolerance and spiritual power that monks possess. Their unarmed attacks do increased damage now. Outlander's Frenzy. So it seems like these class things are like a lot of them are other classes using these things, and I get access to them. Channel's Power. Similar to a barbarian's Tremendous Rage, increasing attack speed. Yeah, I wonder if that's because we're a watcher, if that happens with any character. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if it's like kind of alluding to the fact that since we are a watcher and we have access to previous souls in our body, more access than most people do, if we're able to kind of channel old souls, old lives of ours into other classes. Prestidigitator's Missiles. As a hedge wizard, the character learned how to duplicate the effects of one of the most popular spells in the Eastern Reach, Minoleta's Minor Missiles. So that's like a magic missile kind of spell. Rhymer's Summon. That's a chanter spell. Runner's Wounding Shot. That's a ranger's. And Veteran's Recovery. is by adopting the strict discipline of a fighter, the character is able to pace themselves in combat, steadily regaining endurance over time. And we have talents. And then we have a lot of offensive talents. Weapon-focused adventurer. It gives us accuracy with certain types of weapons. Did I choose one already? So yeah, I can only choose one of these, and that's okay. Then we have defensive. Hold the line. Trains the character in new defensive strategies. Snake's reflexes. Increases reflex defense. All these increase different kinds of defense. Fortitude. Will. Weapon and shield style. Equipped shields deflection bonuses are increased. Graceful retreat grants bonuses to all defenses against disengagement attacks. That means if you are close to an enemy and you try to run away from it, they get an extra attack in there. Utility, fast runner. The character becomes more fleet and nimble, increasing movement rate. Sign of flame, increased burn damage and damage reduction. Heart of the storm. Increased shock damage and damage reduction. Spirit of decay, increased corrode damage. Secrets of Rhyme, increased freeze damage. Quick switch, reduces the recovery time when switching weapons or spells and grimoires. Wound binding, allows the healing of a modest amount of health on the user. And field triage allows the healing of a small amount of health on an ally. I think I want to go to a weapon focus here. Maybe... let's go with the knight here. Battle axe, swords, morning star, and crossbow. And we're done. Going to rest. Camping allows your party members to restore lost health and receive a camping bonus. Camping will consume a camping supply. 2 out of 4. Set a little vision there of a Audra pillar, look like.
I'm here.
Good body. More camping supplies and leather armor. And just have some kind of a shadow run across the water here. Another dead body. This one we can't loot. Have an outlaw. What happens with frightening? Do they run away? Focus in now. Battle axe, sword, morning star, crossbow. I want to equip one of those things. I have a dagger here. Oops. Yeah, so I'll take a sword and a shield. Why not? Just a preference thing of mine here. I love the way these maps just open up like this, and when they're complete, how they look. I just think that it's such a cool feature. I know that it's a feature from the older BioWare games and everything, and I loved it there too. Zorp here. Zorp. Seen all this stuff for except for the Zorp tongue, the rounded, dry tongue of the Zorp. Yummy. The struts and supports are large enough for to be the ribs and vertebrae of a dragon. We know that Zorps worship dragons, so it seems like maybe they use their bones. Maybe that's from like another tribe's dragon or something like that. So these are golden swoles, the smallest gold coin to be used in the Valian Republics. The swole, or sun, is used for high-value transactions, value 9 CP. That's CP is copper pons, which is the everything is kind of reduced down to copper pons when it talks about worth. Cave here. Let's see what's in here. Bear. Are you good enough to beat the bear? Let's try and sneak up on it. Shh. Oh, didn't work. Oof. I don't know if this is going to go very well.
Yes? Ha! Stand together!
Yep. So bear kick my ass. So let's come back later.
At once.
A young wolf. I'm gonna guess there's more of them. No. The wolves of Deerwood are a large and crafty breed, bereft of the species' usual shyness, and they present a serious hazard to travelers who venture off the beaten path. Hunters who seek them out will not usually contend with a single wolf, for they travel in packs of varying size, presenting a challenge for any lone hunter. Their furry hides are valued for their warmth they can provide, and the teeth of the strongest wolves make for impressive trophies. So yeah, I thought we would see another one, and it says here that usually they travel in packs, And I also know that a lot of video games these days try to include some kind of world reason why wolves attack on sight, since people love to point out that real-life wolves won't just attack on sight. Here, the wolves of the Deerwood are a large and crafty breed bereft of the species' usual shyness. So in other words, wolves from other places might not attack on sight, but in the Deerwood they do. So we always have to watch out for wolves. Shattered pieces of a crate are strewn across the dirt, along with a few muddy vegetables. Somebody lost their cargo. This might be the larger thing. The grass is still flattened behind the wagon's wheels. Barrels of cabbage, potatoes, and squash have been overturned and abandoned. A scroll here. Requires 2 lore to read this scroll. Tanglefoot. Rapidly grows a patch of twisted vines that surround and entangle anyone unlucky enough to be caught inside. Characters who set foot inside the area of effect become hobbled. Silver Loosh. The most common Valian coin found in Deerwood is the Silver Loosh, or fish, so named for its resemblance to the scales of a fish. They are worth 3 copper pounds. And we have some camping supplies too. Nanton.
Hello.
This man appears to be hurriedly dismantling his camp in quick, jerky movements. He looks up as you approach, his expression tense and drawn. Greetings, he says, a little breathless. On your way south, is it? This is because I am a pale elf. You look to be a long way from home, meaning no offense. Not sure what brought you down here, but it's no place to go wandering alone. So if we look at the White the Wens and the pale elves that come from there, we realize that pale elves are very rarely seen anywhere but the White that Wens. So people are noticing that. He wipes his brow, turning to face you. The sooner you're clear of these woods, the better, I think. Caravan was a 10. So I'm not going to be especially trustworthy of people here, so I'm just going to say, what's your hurry? The man looks down at the tent and then at his hands. I mean to follow my own advice. Came out here on a hunt, me and a friend of mine. Thought we'd bring some stag home, eat something other than bread for once. Come up on a bear instead. Great monstrous thing. And Pearly, he didn't make it. He shakes his head. I don't know what I'll tell his wife. That's the bear that probably killed us before. In any case, this forest cost me a friend. I'm heading home before it takes anything else. Let's find out a little bit about this guy. Who are you? Name's Nanton, born and raised in Gilded Vale. Having a spot of luck since. His face twists. Luckier than Pearly, I suppose. In the bear cave, I noticed a dead body that had a kind of soul floating above it. I think that means we can see what happened to them, so we'll save that for a little bit later, but that, I'm guessing, is Pearly. In any case, this forest already caught me a friend. I'm heading home before it takes anything else. What happened to your friend? We didn't see it coming. Nanton's voice shakes a little as he speaks. We were following a stag. Pearly, he saw something in the brambles, and we went tearing off after it. We all but stumbled into the cave. Poor Pearly didn't stand a chance. The bear was on top of him before we knew what was happening. The beasts will take what they will, I suppose, he smiles sadly, and this time Galawain's favor fell upon the bear. Where did you find this bear? In a cave, a ways up that way. He turns to point to the northwest. I wouldn't seek it out if I were you. It was a great brute of a beast. Would hate to hear that it took another life. Farewell. So warning us not to go there after we've already been there and experienced death from the bear.
I'm here.
Northwest to Girin's Grasp, south to Gilded Vale.
Certainly.
Northwest to Girin's Grasp. It's not showing me that, though. Probably actually have to open a map on the west-hand side, on the west part of the map. So let's kind of fill out this map a little bit. Oh, Got something going on up here. Have some bandits and outlaws. They're green right now. Let's see what happens. There's a lot of them there. Tenfrith, the young dwarf tending the stew, looks up, startled as he sees you approach. He drops his ladle, spattering stew across the ground. What? The bandit turns. Get him, you dogs, and make sure our new cook doesn't run off. Help! Please, help me! Ag! One of the bandits gives Tenfrith a kick as they pass him, and he huddles. So I've got to fight 3 of them here. It's someone with a bow. Let's turn him against us. Or against his friends. Didn't work. This is not going well. So I am not going to go up to this area just yet. I'll wait till I have... I'll come back here when I have more party members. Another young wolf. Oh, move.
At once.
These aged walls appear to have once encircled this entire glade. Only a small fragment remains, and the stairs leading to the top of the structure have crumbled away. Examine the wall more closely. The heavy bricks are slick with moss, presenting a hindrance to climbing, but the stones themselves seem sturdy enough. Given the right tools, one might easily reach the top. Try to scale the wall? Find a handhold upon one of the large stones and start to pull yourself up, but the uneven bricks and odd angle of ascent make the climb difficult, and after a short distance your arms begin to burn too fiercely. You're forced to drop back down to the ground. You have to come back here with a rope, I think, and a grappling hook. Which is okay, because we are going to be back here to deal with that bear and that group of outlaws and bandits. Before we leave for Gilded Vale, I want to just at least get the map here. Maybe I have to go north. I swear there was another way out of here besides the south. Maybe not. We'll come back to it later. For now, let's head down. Take it 8 hours to complete your journey from Valewood. Okay, so we have arrived at Gilded Vale. We've been talking about this. Gilded Vale is where they put out word that they are willing to give new settlers land somewhere. This is where our caravan was headed, but of course we are the only one who survived our caravan. So I think that's a good place to stop for now for this session. So we saw the older robed man, the follower of Woodica, asking for sacrifices. We saw that giant contraption that kind of stole their souls and turned them into empty vessels. And we went through the Valewood and got our asses kicked a little bit, but we'll be back there later once we get a few party members. So thank you everybody for watching. I will see you next time.